All right, hello, my name is Piueti Maka and I am an MS1 that is with the MSMP program. So it's pretty much our medical student mentorship program, um, pretty much seeking to help undergraduate students at the University of Hawaii. So we're paired up with the John A. Burns School of Medicine and just trying to foster relationships with the undergraduates. Medical students and the faculty here. We are super excited to have you, Dr. Daniel Sugai. You are a board certified dermatologist, went on to continue your education from University of Hawaii and jabsom at the Harvard School. So we are really excited to have you here. And would you mind introducing yourself a little bit more?
Hey Manoa, this is Dr. Daniel Sugai, board certified dermatologist. I practice in Seattle, but I'm a proud University of Hawaii at Manoa graduate. I went to undergrad and medical school at University of Hawaii, and I was a part of the MSMP program both as a pre-med student and also as a first and second year medical student to help give back and mentor young minds like yourself. So very nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me and listening to my journey and my story, starting from my humble roots on the North Shore of Oahu. I grew up in Waialua, Haleiwa, which is a very small surfing town, as you all may know. And I went to public school. I went to Haleiwa Elementary, Waialua Intermediate. Then I went on to University Laboratory School from 8th grade to 12th grade and graduated there as a student body president. Took the SATs, very average score. I didn't take a formal SAT prep course, and so one would assume that maybe I was just an average standardized test taker based on my SAT scores. I went into college with very motivated to go into medicine. I already thought I wanted to become a doctor from UH Lab School, and so I volunteered at Kaiser Permanente Moana for 4 summers straight out of high school. So every summer I was a candy striper. I'd put on the blue polo shirt and I would with khaki pants, and I'd go to Kaiser Permanente to shadow plastic surgeons, ENT doctors. Dr. Johnny Mata was my mentor at Kaiser Permanente, and I worked with him every summer, and he allowed me to shadow him, and I got to see some surgeries, and it was a great experience. I just knew I wanted to go into medicine. I was so motivated. Every time I was stressed out with school and organic chemistry, anatomy and physiology, biochemistry classes you guys are going through, I would feel motivated to keep working hard and studying just so that I could achieve that goal. I knew what I wanted. So always try to have a goal in mind and stay focused. So other things I did in college besides trying to do well in school and getting good grades was I worked at Kokua, which was a very nice service for students with disabilities. I would go into their classrooms and take notes. And in the process, I was able to learn about other topics and subjects I would never sign up for. I wouldn't get credits for taking the classes, but I would take notes and then have it scanned and delivered to the students. But also read textbooks and record them for students with visual impairments, and able to follow along with the courses by listening to my audio recordings of the textbooks. I also was a tutor, physics and chemistry tutor, in my junior and senior year of college. And then I was also very active in my honor societies like Golden Key Honor Society. I was inducted into the Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society, but I was able to do a lot of volunteer work and community service through those honor societies. Also, I was elected twice as senator of the College of Arts and Sciences in the ASUH organization. That was also great to give back to my community and be involved with legislation and policy. Fortunately, I was able to get into medical school my first try. After my junior year of college, I did apply to jabsom and a few other colleges. I only took the MCAT once. I did take Kaplan prep course, and I would recommend some kind of prep course. And then fortunately, I got in on my first try. The other fortunate thing was that I got the UH Regent Presidential Scholarship, which not only covered my tuition and expenses, but also gave me a travel fund to go on an international trip. And I chose India. I went on an India medical trip and was able to shadow surgeons in the OR, doctors in the inpatient wards, and also family medicine doctors in the outpatient clinics. So it was a great eye-opening experience. I got to see a lot of exotic pathology that you don't see here in the States. And I also saw issues with access to care. We do have access to care issues in the United States, but not as severe as some areas in India. I was touched by a story where I did see a little Indian girl, about 9 or 10, who came to clinic, and she had traveled with her family for hours just to see a doctor, and she had a large third-degree burn on her shoulder. And it broke my heart seeing that she traveled so far to get treatment, and the wound was about to get infected, and I felt hopeless looking at her, and I said, wow, she traveled all this way, and what would I do in this case? So I thought, I was motivated from then on to look into either plastic surgery, some kind of reconstructive surgery. I was very touched by it that I used it in my medical school personal statement as well as my dermatology personal statement. So I got into medical school, and my whole journey of switching from plastic surgery to dermatology happened in my third year of medical school at Jabsom. Jabsom's a great medical school. I had such a great experience, a close-knit class, great professors and instructors, attending physicians. You have a good mix of PBL, didactics, clinical rotations from first year on, and I'm so grateful I trained there. They also instill great values that Hawaii people instill from a young age, valuing a close-knit community, embracing diversity, treating patients like ohana. Those are all things that we practice from early on in first year of medical school on. My advice would be just really embrace PBL, really be a self-motivated learner. If you want to answer to a question, go and look it up yourself and share it with your friends, because teaching it also helps cement it in your memory. So it does help giving back to others and teaching them, because it will help you in return. So, after having a mediocre MCAT score, SAT score, I had to, pass that obstacle of how will I do on USMLE Step 1, which was the most important exam of my medical career. And for you, if you matriculate into medical school in the next couple of years, you probably won't have to deal with a scored USMLE Step 1. It will become pass or fail soon. So for me, it was a way to distinguish myself from the mainland applicants going into dermatology. That was the advantage of having a non-pass or fail Step 1. And I studied very hard. I tried to enroll in every Q bank that I could afford, and I did questions every day. Repetition was everything. And in terms of getting past the standardized testing obstacle, I actually scored very well, over 95th percentile in the country. So it is possible that you can break the mold and do well on your exams. And I needed to do well, because if you want to go into plastics, orthopedics, ophtho, dermatology, you have to score well on that exam. And then it came around to applications, and I applied to residency broadly. I took an extra loan out, 15% interest loan, just to go on my interviews. And when you apply to a competitive specialty like dermatology, every interview offer you get, you will go to. You should, because it'll increase your chances of matching. In terms of matching, my situation was a little different. I did couples match with my wife, who went into internal medicine, and match day was so special for us because we got to both celebrate getting into a Boston Harvard affiliated program. And she went to Beth Israel Deaconess, and I went into the Harvard combined program and did my internal medicine year there, as well as my dermatology residency at all the Harvard affiliated hospitals, including Mass General, Brigham and Women's, Beth Israel, Boston Children's. So it was a great experience. I was so grateful. But that's my journey. I just want to let you all know that just because you come from humble beginnings, public school, Manoa State School, go Bows, you can still do well and get into a good medical school or residency. If you want to stay back at Jabsom, I highly recommend it. I saved a lot of money by paying in-state tuition, and I got world-class training, and I truly believe that till this day. All right, so let's open up to some questions.
All right, so one of my biggest questions is, what was the reason that you decided to go into dermatology?
Yeah, good question. So I decided in my third year at Jabsom, third year of medical school, and throughout my first 3 years, I thought I was going to go into plastic surgery. I linked up with Dr. Don Parsa, a great plastic surgeon, and we did some papers together. I did some talks at plastic surgery symposiums, and I was so gung-ho about it, and I worked really hard to do well on my Step 1 exam. I went through third year, and I really thought about lifestyle, really trying to evaluate having, I got engaged to my now wife at the time, and we thought about, hey, two physicians starting a family, really got to think about what's possible. And so I did general surgery. I did well. I liked it. I really liked the attendings there, but I felt like personality fit. Uh, just wasn't the perfect fit for me. And so I got to rotate with Dr. Greg Sakamoto, another Wailua boy. He is also a family man and everything, and I really look up to him. And he's been one of my first mentors in dermatology. So actually, that was a very valuable experience rotating with him. I know we don't have an academic department for dermatology, but if you can link up with a community doctor, like Dr. Sakamoto is in private practice, has his own practice, wealth of knowledge, great guy to just pick his brain about lifestyle, what dermatology is all about behind the scenes, but also bread and butter. You got to think about, does the bread and butter excite you? Is that something you can do on a daily basis and still be happy? And also, when you choose a specialty, you always want to choose something that you want to look at the headaches too, not just the best parts, not just like the skincare and the lasers, but also thinking about seeing 30 plus patients in a day. I really like seeing 30 plus patients in a day. So I decided on dermatology. So I also was an art minor in college, just like I mentioned, and I really like combining the visual aspect with medicine. And I liked diagnosing things by seeing and looking and not basing it on labs or imaging. I just wanted to look at the skin and make a diagnosis and then come up with nice creative ways to treat it. Plastic surgery is great. You do a lot of problem solving and reconstruction, but a lot of times the diagnosis part of things I actually wanted a little bit more of. Great field still.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely sounds super interesting.
You got to do a rotation sometime. Fourth year, yeah.
Actually, I think I know who you're talking about, Dr. Sakamoto.
Yeah, he's in Queens.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, try to link up with him. He's a great guy. I don't know if he's still doing some, the volunteer Queen Emma Clinic. He would do that once a week, one half day a week, which I thought was really great, teaching the residents. And it was a lot of, you see a lot of great skin diseases there, and just that half day. Good teacher too.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know you talked a little bit about your journey already. I just wanted to know, were there any moments of imposter syndrome anywhere in your journey, and how did you kind of deal with that?
Right. The first day of medical school or the first week, you take like these proficiency exams. I don't know if they have that for you guys. You do a Myers-Briggs test, and you also do like a reading comprehension, and they test how fast you read as well. My first day of medical school, I looked to my left, and it was Punahou grad here. Looked to my right, it's my wife, my now wife, and her classmates, and it felt like a Punahou Iolani reunion on either side. And so you do kind of feel, you have that inferiority complex that comes up. And then you take that proficiency test, and then they give you a score, and they compare it percentile wise to your classmates. And I think I was below average. And then, and then you do your Myers-Briggs test, which is a personality thing. And they're like, all right, you're ENTJ. I was primarily ENTJ. ENFJ was my second close runner. And, the T is thinker, and then the F is feeler. So I was kind of like at that border. And then I took the exam again after I studied my tail off for step one. In third year, I think they make you take it again. And my Myers-Briggs test became fully ENTJ. I was a full thinker. And my proficiency was way above average. I think I was like above 90th percentile. And I don't know if it was just like I trained my brain to just work very fast, just studying really hard for step one. And I did really well on my step one exam. And it was just kind of crazy how you could break the mold. In the beginning, you're like doing LIs and you're like thinking about, wow, this guy's way older than me. He was an EMT, or he worked in the hospital. He knows all the medical lingo already, whereas I have to learn what's a normal blood pressure range. You're learning everything from the ground up. So you definitely do feel some imposter syndrome. Do you deserve to be here? But actually, by the time I applied to residency, it didn't bother me much. I was really just thinking, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go in there and show them what I got, because they already saw something in my application to invite me to an interview at my Mayo Clinic, Brown University, Harvard. So I really was pumped to go to my interviews. And even though I looked to my left and there was a guy from Yale, looked to my right, there's a guy from Dartmouth, it didn't matter. I was just ready to go in, and they have you in this waiting room in your suits with your name tag. Mine said University of Hawaii Pride all the way. And they have you wait for you to go and stand behind this big double door to go into a conference room with all the big names. And they do this panel interview with all these doctors that just kind of grill you at once, but this kind of this intimidating setting. And so a lot of people, I think the girl who had left the room and I was up next, came out tearing up. She was crying. So it kind of, there's a lot of mind games in the interview process, but at that point, I want you all, if you once you get there, just feel confident. There's a lot of people before you that have matched into great programs and have done well and have left a great name for Hawaii students. So just really feel like you got this, and you have nothing but to show your best side. At the interview part, I think we can excel. Just don't bust out pigeon. That's it. Just try to have the best proper English possible, and then just show that you're a good person. You got to show these people that they're willing to be on call with you for an 18-hour shift. Not someone who will drive them crazy, not someone who's very arrogant. Most of us are very humble, very bright and humble. So I think just show that side of you is important.
Awesome.
Yeah. Are you guys still doing the Myers-Briggs test?
Yeah. So we did the very first day of school, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think first day of school, and I think I'm similar to you. It's like ES. I think I actually might be a TJ.
Yeah.
But
They'll make you do it again. Right. That's gonna be funny to see if you change too, because it was like the feeling part was not even mentioned on my report afterwards. So like, you're purely a thinker. And then you do it again in intern year. When I got to intern year, you do in the beginning, and I was just like on the far end of the spectrum for like extrovert and also thinker.
Yeah, that's so crazy to see how you change throughout your journey.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's just what I didn't mention before. I think that you being a standardized test taker, if you're just like, I was average for my SAT and my MCAT, doesn't mean you're going to do mediocre for your step 1 exams. All at repetition and trying to do as many practice questions as possible.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful, especially for someone like me. The MCAT was not my strong suit. And I always worried, am I going to get better from here? Can I do well in med school? So I think it's definitely really inspiring when you share stuff like that.
Yeah, so. For sure. I'm not worried about you. You're going to do fine. All right.
Okay. For those who are interested in going into medicine, what are some key advice that you would give our pre-med students?
Sure. Yeah. Try to apply broadly to medical school. Don't try to commit and just put all your eggs in one basket. Just really, jabsom's great, but try to apply to other places, increase your chances of getting in. Research was something that I was afraid that was going to be the weakness in my application process. I just wanted to reassure you all that I didn't do any bench research applying. I wasn't ever big into research. I didn't have any publications when I applied. I wanted to show my diverse background by doing student government. I was a class president, student body president in high school, and then I became a senator of the College of Arts and Sciences at UH. And I wanted to focus on me being a science tutor, did well in organic chemistry, like those, do well in those weeder classes, the anatomy and physiology class by Dr. Merritt at UH Manoa. You want to do well too, because that's important. And, I also did a medical trip that I mentioned before to India. And I would say if you can do any kind of international trip when it's safe to do so, to put on your resume and talk about in your interview or your personal statement, that's huge. And if you do get the names of your interviewers when you apply to medical school, look them up, look and go on PubMed, search and see what papers they've done, see what their interests are. Because like my first interviewer at Jabsom was an infectious disease doctor who did international medicine. So I talked about my India medical trip quite a bit just to stimulate good conversation. I'd say do a MCAT prep course. I did Kaplan. I think I would have done probably not average if I didn't take it. So by taking Kaplan, I was grateful that I was able to get an average score to get into medical school. But then again, just don't be discouraged that from then on, you're going to keep being an average test taker. You can still do well. Although many of you who matriculate into medical school soon will probably won't have to deal with the score of step one, which I think is good and bad. Yeah, I think the good thing will be, probably less burnout, less pressure on hitting the books, and you can really start focusing and maybe on clinical skills. You could probably start, working on clinical skills sooner. But the good thing I think for me was that it was helpful in distinguishing me from other mainland students who are applying into the field. It does, kind of raise you up and maybe even get you at a level playing field. With those from Ivy League schools or the name schools, but also gave me like a really good, like I was very disciplined with studying. I was so crazy about studying that when I got into third year and then you do the what do you call it, the shelf exam at the end of the rotation, I was like killing it because all I was doing was just ready to study. And I would just go to clinic, do the clinical setting, and go home and study and learn everything that I learned about that day. And so my first rotation in third year was psychiatry. And I got a 99 on my shelf exam. That was right after I finished step one, right? You finish your step one exam, then you go into third year and start your clinical rotation. And I was just so like such a robot with studying that I did really well on the shelf exam. And then I said, okay, maybe I should back off and not be so intense about studying. And then, you kind of find a balance because, there are really demanding rotations in your third year. So you got to pace yourself for sure. Surgery, I remember going home at, 11:30 at night and waking up at 3:30 in the morning to go round on patients before your intern and get ready to present a sick SICU patient to your attending and resident and an intern, because they'll grill you. And they also want to have you do LI still in third year, and you got to present it a morning report and not be tired. So you got to be ready and jazzed for like the whole, I forgot how was it, 6 weeks of rotations on the block schedule. But I'd say pace yourself too. You don't want to burn out.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just thought of this question.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, because I know for a lot of students, especially who were prepared to try to apply for this cycle, so some of them, because of COVID, have had to take a gap year because of like the MCAT shifting of schedule. What would you recommend for them? Because I know you didn't do a gap year, but is there anything you think that might be important for them in this year?
That's a good question. Yeah, during this time, it's really hard to go do a clinical job or volunteer work with the restrictions. I have allowed people to rotate with me in my clinic and asking my patients if it's okay. And the volunteers have to, sign some HIPAA papers and also wear a mask and eye shield. But it's just very tough right now. You should maybe try to get employed by a hospital or a clinic. That way you have a consistent basis where you can show up to work and try to soak in as much as you can. Like my medical assistant is applying to medical school right now, Nicole, and she is just killing it in clinic because she's able to see how I interact with patients. She's learning dermatology terminology. She's seeing what kind of medications I'm treating. She's also loading prescriptions for me, and I double check them, of course, but she's able to get the whole terminology of writing a prescription, whether it's a topical medicine or an oral systemic medicine like methotrexate or, Cellcept. So she's getting that exposure. Plus she's counseling the patients, who have questions, whether in clinic after I leave the room or on the phone. Wound care is especially huge. She's taking out sutures. She's helping cutting sutures, which as a third year medical school student, you're going to learn how to cut sutures the right way without getting yelled at. And there's that aspect, and then there's also the aspect of insurance companies. She's dealing with prior authorizations and talking to insurance companies, writing up letters to appeal rejections of coverage. So she's doing all of those things, which I think she's just going to be ahead of the curve when she starts. Hopefully she gets in. I'm really excited that she's getting a lot of secondary applications right now, and then soon she'll be doing the virtual interview process. But I think that something like that, doing a certified medical assistant, you wanted to be an EMT. I actually thought about that. If I didn't get into medical school, that'd be kind of a fun thing to do. Research years could be good if you get pump out some publications in the meantime. That would look really impressive, because I think medical students will publish, but pre-medical students to publish, I think, is a big thing for sure. That would really set you apart. Did you do any publications before entering med school?
I'm kind of similar to you. I wasn't interested in research.
Yeah.
And last minute, I joined like a research project, but not into publications at that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Another question I get is like, do I need to take a gap year to apply to dermatology, which is very ultra competitive still. And I didn't take a gap year, but when I went to residency, a lot of those Harvard medical students were taking gap years, and the advisor was almost telling them you should take a gap year if you don't have a PhD. And I'm kind of on the fence about. I still think try to apply. I think I'm more in that mindset to apply. If you don't get in, then take a gap year and do a research year at a academic institution. But yeah, I think just going for as much as possible, and then if you have to do a plan B, do the plan B and do a gap year. Same for medical school. I think just if you think that you have good grades, you have a good solid MCAT score and extracurriculars, try. But yeah, with this COVID, like you talked about, there are things we can't control, and trying to stay productive and trying to beef up your resume is definitely a time to do so. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. That's helpful for especially I know for some of our seniors who are finishing this year and stuff.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me see. What are some habits that you developed either as a college student or in medical school that you think were really helpful in developing you into a strong student and a strong physician?
Yeah, some some habits I developed. Yeah, so I'd say that I like to-do lists. To-do lists are really important. Just making that a habit of, you're probably doing it on your phone, but I'm old school. I like to do it on a piece of paper, and your whole list as an intern of your patients, you'd fold it up, put it in your white coat pocket. That's like my to-do list in intern year. When I was in college, high school, I had one of those old school planners, write out my whole to-do list, and it feels so good just to check off the box or cross out the task. So I'm a huge supporter of to-do lists, and that just is a good way to organize your day, organize your mind. Keeping you motivated to keep checking things off. I think that it does lead to productivity and success. Just being focused on your goal, your end goal, and not getting distracted by people doubting you, because 100% people are going to doubt you. They're going to tell you things like, oh, I hear it's really hard to get into medical school now, or I hear it's really hard to get into dermatology. It's really impossible if you don't take a gap year, or if you don't have a PhD, or you're from Hawaii. That you're gonna be applying against all the mainland people who went to college in the mainland, or you're gonna be applying against people who went to Yale, and how do you think you can get into Harvard? So those things you're gonna be hearing all the time. So just really having to make it an art and a habit, just to not get distracted by that. And that's why I make a lot of TikTok videos about this. I just keep hammering it in. I keep repeating it, that you're going to hear these things coming from Hawaii, guaranteed. You're going to feel inferior, guaranteed. But all these stories I'm telling are true. And I'm going to keep telling people, don't give up. Don't be distracted by it. Some hater did mention yesterday, like you've posted about this 1,058 times too many. And I just said, well, my whole goal is to inspire Hawaii youth. You're just being a hater, move on you. I said, I don't care. This is my page. I'm gonna post as much as I can about this because this is a real thing. And I think it even starts from public school where, public school people feeling inferior. And I've had that coming from the North Shore where my grandparents, told me from a young age that, yeah, if you ever go to school in town, that's going to be really hard being up against them. They're much more sophisticated. They're very smart. They have more money. So just going from like Wailua intermediate to lab school, UH lab was already a big jump, and you've already been ingrained in your mind that they might somehow be better. And then, you're not as good as Iolani and Punahou in town, is what you're taught to believe. So you have a lot of these like obstacles and barriers in your mind that you have to overcome. But it's really about you. Don't focus on what pond you grew up in. It's just really focus on your qualities and what makes you special. And that by the time I got to residency, I was so used to talking about myself, and what made me unique is that I brought my artwork to my interviews and showed them just to say like, hey, there's more to me than all this other stuff. You can't show your artwork in your application to residency. So show them all these things. If you sing, maybe even bring like a sound clip or even a video from your play or something, just to stir up the conversation and make it interesting.
I like that you brought up that hater comment, because I think that especially for Hawaii students, we get a lot of like negative comments like constantly, especially for public school kids. So I think like having repetitive like, positive reinforcement is like super great, and I think it's super helpful for anyone. And it's funny because I feel like I watch all your videos, but I don't ever feel like it's like the same stuff. I mean, it might be same themes, but I definitely think your videos are helpful for a lot of people like me, for people who are interested in medicine. So
thanks for saying that.
Yeah, that's a really a weird comment, but
I know. And the person ended up saying I'm from Hawaii too, and I was like, well, okay, well, I'm sorry if this is too much for you. And she wasn't even following me, and I guess it just shows up on her feed, her explore page on TikTok. So I was just like, well, if you don't like me, then you could just block me then, so I don't show up on your feed. Like, don't have to say that comment. Like, I'm gonna post whatever I want to say, and and talk about my story. I'm not making these stories up either. This is all about the things that I went through, and I just want to really reach out to even as young as high school students, just to say like, hey, you're gonna be facing these things. It's okay. It's normal. Just stick to your plan, your to-do list, good habits, good study habits, and also just like really digging down to see like how do you learn. How do you deal in a group setting? How do you work as a team? Like for me, I'm very different from my wife, who is really good about like soaking in information in a didactic setting in a lecture. For me, as like, I love PBL. I actually did not like lectures because I almost had this thing where I needed to read it myself to like accept it in my memory. I don't know if it's trust issues, but it was more like I need to go back home and read this, or even type this out and make an LI about this before I accept it as information that I will use in my clinical practice. So just try to figure that part out, and then and embrace it. You don't have to, I even had a question the other day by a pre-medical student, like, what if I'm shy? Like, it's okay. A lot of doctors are shy. You don't have to be the doctor out there dancing on TikTok. Most of us are shy or introverted. It's totally fine to be that way, and don't feel bad about it. Just accept who you are and go with it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good point that you made, and I kind of just wanted to touch on this a little bit. I know that you mentioned it kind of throughout our interview today, but you are really big on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, and I think that you are definitely one of the best dancers on Instagram, especially physicians. So I definitely think that you have a really good quality to draw students in, or just people who maybe not interested in medicine but just want to know a little bit more about it. And I kind of wanted to get what you really wanted to get out of social media, what really drew you to TikTok, or kind of how that journey goes.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's a good question. And now it's become my passion and my hobby, or my second job, or what have you. But yeah, it's been really a whirlwind, crazy journey from I remember starting in Valentine's Day, my Instagram account at lunch with my medical assistants. And they're like, Dr. Sugai, you should totally start one. I'm like, all right, fine, let's do it. What should I put in my bio? Like I was so lackadaisical about it. And then it just blew up into, I have over 20,000 followers now. And people have been really said they thank me for the inspirational posts or good posts about skincare, because there's a lot of bad information out there. And my whole goal is to help kind of dilute the pollution that's out there. There's so much bad information on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube that I wanted to help out with that. And, but also brand myself during the time of the lockdown in February. March, April, I was only working 1/2 day a week, and my practice is usually very busy. I see 120 patients a week, 4 days a week, and I was only open 1/2 day a week, seeing 5 patients that are for emergency cases to flatten out the curve. And so that was a time for me to just talk to the camera because I miss talking to my patients, and I was able to do a YouTube channel, and now it's become I've become a YouTube partner now, and we'll see where that takes me. Check out the channel. I'm posting reviews on skincare products like sunscreens and such. So I talk about basic things like dry skincare, dry itchy scalp, but also product reviews, which people really like. So there's that aspect. And then TikTok came along where it's become more of my silly creative side. Instagram's kind of the middle, and then YouTube is very serious and more of actually there's some fun videos there, but I feel like there's a mix of my personalities there. And TikTok has really been I've been really, really happy that I got into TikTok kind of on the early side, not as early as some of the big influencer, doctor influencers, but getting in June and been on it for 4 months and having over 10,000 followers. It's been really interesting seeing the people who are on there, a lot of great people, very positive comments and supporters, but then there's a lot of ugliness too, where people just aren't ashamed to go after a doctor who's board certified, trained at a residency program, like Harvard and such. So it's interesting. I'm fighting haters all the time, and I'm not like I don't waste a lot of time in it, but there's sometimes some things I just can't let slide because I don't want that out there. And people just giving bad information. And for some reason, why Neosporin gets so many people upset. I mean, when I make a post on Neosporin, like it does really well, the video, but I get all these people who just come in like, I think they feel attacked that I'm saying that all their ways of living and treating a cut or a wound with Neosporin is like a lie, and they get really upset with me. So, yeah, it's really interesting. But I'm having a good time. I'm getting like, skincare companies reaching out to me, and collaborations for things like laser hair caps or UV sterilizers. Like I have it right here. Like stuff to sterilize your phone during this time of a pandemic. It doesn't have to be just free skincare. It's all this other stuff that I'm collaborating with companies for. So it's kind of it's a whole other world. I'm pretty new to this, but it's a learning process, and I'm having a good time. And it's able to like link with really good people like you. I've just I haven't met you in person, but I feel like I know you pretty well, and really, really touched you, reached out to me. And yeah, what video was it that did you see first when
I think it might have been
the slipper flip?
No, it
No.
was
Oh.
I think it was like a Costco one. Like I kept seeing
Oh,
like
really?
Costco videos, and I think you've done like different like runs, and
Oh,
I saw that one,
yes, you're
and I
right.
was just interested. I was like, who is this guy? And then I went, and then I was like, this guy isn't from Hawaii, like because I was just like, because I think I just saw like Harvard, and then I went through, and then I was like, oh my gosh, he is from Hawaii, and then that's when I started going through, and I saw like
Oh,
I think one of your dancing ones, and then it talked about like where you're from, and I was like, he's from Hawaii, and he's from like North Shore,
for
like
sure.
small area, and
Right.
I was just like, I'm not really sure if this is true, and then I just kept reading and watching stuff.
Uh, that's funny. Oh yeah, no, I was really happy that you reached out, because I think this is a good collaboration here. I think it's an important one because I was in MSMP in your shoes when I was a first year. I think even second year I kept it up, and I think it's a really good thing for the pre-medical students, because I was in that program as a pre-medical student. I thought it was very helpful. I was able to meet a lot of the the med students and tour the campus and do little sessions and seminars on the campus, which just makes you really feel like get to be in the shoes of people like you. And I think I even got to meet Dr. Izutsu too because of that, you know. Is Dr. Izutsu still on campus, or he's retired?
On
Oh, yeah.
campus, I
Oh, yeah,
know.
you guys aren't even on campus, huh?
Yeah, we're not.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, no, he would do the third and final interview for medicals for jabsom. So he's the one that you all have to be pretty. You have to be on your A game for him, I'll say. Did you have to interview with him? No.
No, I had Dr. Asano. But I
Okay.
know a couple people who've done it with Dr. Izutsu. So,
Yeah, right. I would want like Dr. Kasuya or yeah, like he'd be so great to have an interview with. Anyways, yeah. Did you have 3 interviews as well? Nice. Okay. Yeah. I mean, do you have any like I guess quick fire tips for pre-medical students then? This will go on my YouTube channel, so anything
um,
that you want to add on?
I think it might be like personality wise, I think I'm pretty similar to you. I definitely think like I'm more of a planner versus a to-do list, but I guess my planning out includes my to-do list in that. Um,
Yeah.
and I think the whole staying focused thing, I think that really resonated with me because I think
Mm,
for someone like me who also gets like imposter syndrome a lot, I think just being able to stay focused in like what I'm studying is super important.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I definitely just take off a lot of what you were saying.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for yeah, listening and kind of relating because yeah, I think we're all coming from the same roots, you know. I always say in my post, remember your roots, remember where you came from. My last thing would be that Hawaii people really are special. We are loving people, we are friendly people, and you don't see people like that on the mainland. And the interviewers, I hope, will see those qualities in you in a short period of time. It is like speed dating at times where you only have a short period of time with a certain person or with the panel. But if you can just show, just show the aloha spirit, show your personality, have some sense of humor, try to laugh and smile as much as possible during your interviews and talk about Hawaii. If, a lot of times my interviewers want to talk about Hawaii and, their nice trip vacation to Maui and they want to talk about hula and surfing, talk about it, embrace it. Talk about those things instead of things that they can test you on is what I always say is like, you don't talk about, you can talk about your research and be proud of it, but don't fall into a hole where they can, or in the corner where they can really pimp you on it, pimping meaning they can just quiz you on the spot. So I like talking about Hawaii a lot and I'm very proud of it. I will continue to be proud of it. I'll continue to post about my time there and I will hope to visit back home soon and then meet you in person and, hopefully give a lecture to, as well to the medical students because I also love teaching. I miss that part, not being in academics. In an academic setting, I can't teach as much. I do let family medicine residents at UW shadow me and that does help bring balance to my day. But I definitely want to give priority to jabsom as much as possible and helping out.
Thank you. Yeah, I think JAVSOM would love to have you. I know a lot of our students are really excited to see you on social media and would be even more excited to
Oh,
see you in a lecture setting.
yeah,
So yeah, that would be just super awesome. And
yeah,
we
yeah,
always appreciate you
yeah.
contact with us.
Thank you. Maybe we can do a TikTok together.
I'm trying to practice. It's funny, I've tried practicing the dancing. I'm not as good as you, so
No, whatever. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I hope you stay safe and well during this time. Tell Jabsom I said hello and I miss everyone. And MSMP, keep it up. Thank you for continuing the tradition of giving back because, the road of giving back doesn't end when you get into medical school, when you graduate medical school or residency. You're going to keep giving back to the community and you're doing a good job by doing this. It's really good of you just taking your Sunday, in your cardiology, pulmonology rotation to do this. So you're giving back and you're sacrificing very valuable time. So good job on you.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, take care, and I'll see you guys later. Maybe do an Instagram live sometime.
Yes.
Peace.